rules are, I'm going to do this, I think, for the first several meetings. So the rules of our Zoom PTO meetings are, you should know that we are recording the video or recording the meeting. And then Ms. Matthews has been very good about sending out a Google form so you can pre-submit questions, just because it makes the logistics of running the meeting a bit easier. Just like your kids are when they are in their Zoom calls, please remain muted unless you're talking. So that really helps us to manage the volume and manage the conversation in the meeting. Please keep your comments constructive. You're always welcome to give feedback of any kind, but we are trying to get through a lot of information every meeting. And so we just want to make sure our conversations are constructive and moving forward. If you want to use a question, raise a question, you can either use the raise hand feature if you click on participants, there's a little button for you to raise hand. That makes it easier for us to see. And then you can use, if we are going to take a vote, you can either give us, you can go like this on the screen and I can see that thumbs up, or you can give a thumbs up on the Zoom as well. I do want to remind everyone, this is one that comes up quite a bit, that when we are bringing a motion forward, even if it's to open the meeting or close the meeting, that can only be done by our kind of rules of Robert of running our meeting dictate that can really only be done by a member who's currently on our slate. So that's when I'm looking and I might see your hand raised and I don't call on you, maybe because you're not a member of our slate to bring a motion forward. However, when we then take a vote on a measure, all meeting participants can participate in that. So that's just kind of the rules of the meeting. And I just wanted to go through them, just kind of remind everyone what that's at, where we are with that. So now that I've said that, can I get a motion to start the meeting? And again, who's current for bringing the motion forward, and Alejandra for the second. Perfect. All right. Okay. Hopefully you received our agenda that Kristen sent out. So I do want to give you a few updates. First, from our President's Council. So as PTO members, PTO presidents, we have every other week meeting with a member from the school board and Dr. Harris, and usually Dr. Winkleman is there. And so we got a little bit of an update. And so I do want to, obviously, the last couple of meetings have really been focused on the hybrid plan, which hopefully many of you have been able to watch the board meetings, and you've been reading all the emails. There's been many, many emails that have been sent out. Hopefully you all are subscribed to the board meeting updates, as well as to Samantha's emails, and you've been getting enough information about how it's going to work, the hybrid emails. And they also have a very extensive frequently asked questions that are published. So, but of course, if we have any additional questions, we'll be looking for that in Ms. Matthews' update, which we'll get to in just a second. The other major thing that happened in the board meetings, and I think Ms. Matthews will also give an update on this, is that 2 board meetings, in the referendum, there was always a plan to look at the elementary schools and decide where they were going to add classroom space. And so even though we have the mobiles, it was not necessarily, had not necessarily been decided that our school or Grove would get the additional classrooms. What we knew was that there was a plan to remove the mobiles from every place that there are mobile classrooms, which are at the middle schools and at Grove. But that didn't necessarily mean that we would also get classroom space, but that 2 board meetings ago, they did make that decision. So, and Ms. Matthews will kind of give us an update on where that puts us now. I think this is good news. This is what we wanted to hear, certainly for our school, but Ms. Matthews will give us an update on construction and all of that. So that's really what's been happening in the President's Council, as well as we've been having a lot of conversations about different things that PTOs are doing this year, things that we never did before, like, for example, like how we're running our yearbook or how we're doing school pictures. And so it's been really great because every PTO is being challenged this year to figure out how to do things. And I think that we're going to get some really great cooperation and sharing between the PTOs on different ideas. We did kick off and we have at least one room parent for every classroom. In some cases, it's only one room parent, but usually in like the kindergarten, first graders, you tend to get a little few more room parents. Those of you who are experienced room parents know this. And so one of the big changes this year, and I know Ms. Matthews is going to talk about the reasoning, is that we had to move our Halloween party. Normally we have our Halloween party, our holiday party, and our Valentine's Day party. It's essentially like the day before, whatever that break is before. And this time we're going to have a change. I'm going to let Ms. Matthews talk about kind of the context and the reason for that change. But we did have a change to Wednesday, October 28th, from 11:30 to 12:15. All right, so that's my update. Ms. Matthews, I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Matthews now to answer both the questions that were submitted, as well as give an update on kind of how things are looking for next week.
Yes. Okay. So I actually am going to talk about Halloween really quickly, just to piggyback off of what you were just talking about. So initially our parties were planned for October 30th in the afternoon. However, now that we're shifting to the hybrid plan, we're moving the parties to Wednesday, because we don't want to take away from the instructional time of our students in the afternoon on the 30th, because then we would actually not have an equal amount of instructional time for our students who are in person that day versus our students who are remote that day. So in order to keep the instructional minutes equal for the entire class, we're moving it to Wednesday, where we have everyone remote, and it will keep the class at the same pace and the same number of instructional minutes. So we're going to do it right before we break for lunch that day, because our typical Wednesday schedule is that we break for lunch and then all the students' activities in the afternoon are asynchronous. So it'll be the end of our synchronous time on Wednesday morning from 11:30 to 12:15. And then we'll run normal hybrid schedules, I guess I should say, on Thursday and Friday. But we are, putting final touches on our preparations for starting our hybrid model on the 19th. And I did have some questions that were submitted to me ahead of time. So I wanted to just take a couple of minutes quickly to answer those questions. The first question was, can you expand on the morning time for Wednesdays once the hybrid schedule starts? Will lunch not be until 12:15 that day, while essentially at 10:30 on the other days? So yes, on Wednesdays, we're going to be following what would be similar to the schedule that we're following now while we are in remote. So we're no longer going to be doing the showcase in the mornings, but we're going to move the core acceleration block from 8 to 8:30 on Wednesday mornings. And then students will start with their teacher with their class meeting at 8:30. So they'll have their class meeting then 8:30 to 8:50. I think there is one grade that will have a special first thing. So, and that particular grade, the teachers will do the class meetings after the special for the morning, but they'll have their morning meeting 8:30 to 8:50, just like they do now. Then they would have their synchronous learning from 8:50 to 12:15. They would break for lunch from 12:15 to 1:30, just like they do now. And then they would have asynchronous work from 1:30 to 2:15 in the afternoon on Wednesdays. And there will be specials that will be worked in on Wednesdays so that students do get all of their specials for the week in order for us to still continue where they are having a similar special schedule to what they're having now. Their specials times will be a little bit different, but they will have a similar schedule to what they have now. That was actually another one of the questions that I received. Give me just 1 second and I'll read the question. So it said, can you explain how specials are going to work each day? It's included in the morning schedule for the students at home and in the afternoons for students who have been at school in the morning. Will classes no longer be having specials together? Will they be combining with other students not in their class for specials? How will specials be handled on Wednesdays when they're not listed on the schedule? So when students are in the asynchronous part of their day, they are going to be participating in their specials, and we are going to be shifting so that they have a 25-minute PE every day. And the majority of specials will be synchronous. So even though it's going to be during their asynchronous portion of the day, or the portion where they're not with their classroom teacher, their specials will then be scheduled and they will be synchronous. So they will have art, music, STEM, and library once a week for 30 minutes. And then they're going to have PE every day for 25 minutes. Their art, STEM, library, and music, it's going to be just their class. And it'll actually be about half their class, because if they're half of their class is in person in the morning, the students who are remote in the morning will have their special. And then the students who are in person in the morning would have their special virtually or remotely in the afternoon. So basically we're running the special schedule twice. They're going to have the teachers will have a morning rotation for the students who are remote. And then in the afternoon, they'll have an afternoon rotation for the students who are remote. When it comes to PE, they're going to have it 25 minutes a day. Again, it'll be during their asynchronous time. And they'll be running that schedule twice a day also. The PE will be combined potentially with other classes from the grade level, but because we're only going to have half the students, it still will not be a large number of students. On Wednesday, it may be a little larger, because on Wednesdays, classes will have their specials all together. So they will have separate specials for their class for art, music, library, and STEM, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and it'll be half the class. On Wednesdays, when they have specials, it'll be their entire class. If it's PE, it may be more students, or the classes might be combined. Okay. Are there any questions about specials? I know it's kind of crazy and can be a little confusing, so I just want to make
I think that one certainly, Ms. Matthews, is definitely, it's very trippy, because you are running a morning session and an afternoon session. Is there any way to do like an example for group A or group B, like what that schedule might look like? Because I do think that's one, I know I've heard from a lot of parents who are like, well, how exactly is that going to work? And we weren't really quite sure. And I know that's very school based, right? It's not, the same universal across all the elementary schools.
Yeah. So, and teachers will be sending out to parents, okay, here's what the schedule is going to be for group A. Here's what the schedule is going to be for group B. But okay. I'm just going to walk you through kind of an example. So let's say it's a 4th grade class, right? So group A on Monday is going to be in school from 8 to 10:30. Group B is going to be at home, and they will be participating in their specials. So they most likely will have a 30-minute special and a 25-minute PE. And then they'll have asynchronous work to do independently. They'll have their social science or social global studies. And then they will probably have a task related to math or some kind of literacy, independent reading, and maybe something that they're finishing up from their classwork from the week prior. Then they would break for lunch. The students in group A are going home. And then in the afternoon, there would be a class meeting for the whole class from 12 to 12:10. And the students who are A, who were in person in the morning, are now going to have their asynchronous afternoon on their own, where they would participate in a special, a PE, and have their science and social global studies to do independently. The group B students who were at home in the morning and working asynchronously will then have their instruction via Zoom with the classroom teacher from 12:10 to 2:40. And then they would have that same schedule on Tuesday. On Wednesday, they're going to be all together remotely. And then it flip-flops on Thursday and Friday. So group B students would be in person and then have asynchronous work at home and specials in the afternoon. Group A in the morning would have their asynchronous work and specials in the morning, and then they would be on Zoom with their teacher in the afternoon. So if they are not with their teacher, either in person or via Zoom, they will have asynchronous work, and that's when they will have their PE and another special. They'll have another special 4 days a week. So there will be 1 day a week where they just have PE. And then the science and social global studies, currently our instructional coaches for the district are taking our curriculum and creating asynchronous lessons. So there will be video recordings of the staff teaching the lesson that students would watch, and then they would have an activity that they maybe would do on Seesaw, or an assignment that they might do in Schoology as a part of that. And then on Wednesdays, when the whole class is together, that will be an opportunity for the classroom teacher to have some live science and social global studies lessons, or to, have the whole class together to, go more into depth with science or social global studies, or to give feedback on that particular content area. Okay. But you will be receiving for your child's class, the teacher will give you, here's going to be the exact, if they're asynchronous, they're going to push out a schedule just like they are now that might say, okay, they're going to have PE from 8 to 8:25. Then they're going to have 25 minutes of asynchronous work. Then they're going to have a 10-minute snack break. Then they're going to have their 30-minute special. Then they're going to have another 25 minutes of asynchronous work. So they will give you a suggested schedule for the time that they are, and then they're going to have science and social global studies, let's say. So they will send out for students, here is a time, here's a time breakdown from 8, if they're home, 8 to 10:30 in the morning, of what they're responsible for doing, the specials that they're going to have, and the assignments. And if they're in the afternoon on their own, they will send them exactly from 12:10 to 2:40. Here's what your schedule is going to look like. So for their asynchronous time, they're going to get pushed out a daily schedule very similarly to what they're getting pushed out right now during the remote learning. Okay, so just a couple of other quick questions. One of the questions was, and so just to clarify on the very first question, they will be breaking for lunch at 10:30, and then so essentially they'll have from 10:30 to 11, and then say their lunch break is 11 to 12, and then they would get on for their class meeting at 12 o'clock. On Wednesdays, it will be 12:15, which is what it is right now. One of the questions was, how many weeks are within the realm of possibility for the hybrid mode up until winter break or sooner? So I'm anticipating that we will be in the hybrid mode at least until winter break, although I do know that last Tuesday at the Board of Education meeting, they have added a board meeting to October 20th, where They'll come back together and talk about how hybrid is looking and discuss next steps and what a plan could look like for next steps, whether that means continuing in the hybrid, whether that means adding more in-person time, or potentially working on additional plans to move forward in another direction. So I am anticipating as of right now that the hybrid will go at least until winter break, but I know that the conversation and the dialogue is, going to be continuing at the district level and the board level in terms of, how are we moving forward with increasing in-person time for students. One of the other questions is, after looking at the hybrid video that you put out and considering the schedule for groups A and B, it seems that while increased face-to-face instruction will be the obvious gain for 2 hours a day for 2 days, can you speak to the decrease of direct instruction time overall? So it's actually going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes every day. And I'm going to share with you the breakdown of what things look like right now and what things look like in the hybrid. And you're going to see they're actually set up to be very similar. So the state is requiring 5 clock hours of learning time for students right now. And 2.5 hours of that time is required to be synchronous or with the teacher. And the other 2.5 hours is asynchronous or self-directed. So with the hybrid model, students will be either in person or with their teacher live via Zoom for 2.5 hours. And then they're going to be working asynchronously or self-directed for the other 2.5, which equals the 5 clock hours of instruction. Okay, that's the same as what we're doing now. Right now, we're also set up for 2.5 hours of synchronous or with their teacher and 2.5 hours of asynchronous. With that said, I know that many of our teachers are staying connected to students during the independent work times that they have, such as independent writing or reading. So it does feel like more contact time with the teacher, but the hybrid plan does align timing wise as what the minimums are even right now. So for example, in the students' reading time right now, we're still following our typical reading and writing workshop. So they may, connect on with their students or with their teacher for reading workshop. They probably have a 10-minute mini lesson. Then they may have 20 to 25 minutes where they're independently reading, and classroom teachers may be keeping them on Zoom, but putting them into breakout groups where they're, working in small groups or reading independently. And then classroom teachers are checking in with them, but technically that's considered their independent time. So while the teacher's staying on and connected because it's easier than having them log off and then having to log back onto Zoom and get on and off, they are still having that independent time. Same thing with their writing. They still have time where they're independently writing. The teacher might say, okay, mute, yourself and, stop your video. And they might play music and the kids are writing independently. So it feels like they're still connected to the teacher, but they're really still working independently. So those times really do line up in comparison to what we're even doing right now. We're also attempting to provide most of our specials live via Zoom during the students' asynchronous time for the hybrid model. And so that's also going to minimize the amount of time that students are self-directed even further. So they're going to have their 2.5 hours with their teacher, either in person or via Zoom. Then they'll have 25 minutes with the PE teacher, and they'll have another 30 minutes with a specials teacher. So that really is going to minimize their amount of complete independent time or asynchronous time during the hybrid. Okay, a couple of other quick questions. One of the questions says, back in August, it was suggested for families that choose in-person learning and the district providing transportation that we would check temperatures as kids board. Will this happen starting October 19th? There is the health survey app, and I know that we have to submit a form every morning stating that our children have not been in contact with COVID-19 and don't have a fever. However, I'd like to know if there will be a district personnel checking temps or not. Okay, so the COVID screener app is going to be critical to making things go smoothly with our arrival when we return on October 19th. And parents are being asked to certify that their child has not had contact with anyone with COVID-19 or hasn't tested positive for COVID-19, and that they have checked them for any symptoms of COVID-19, and they have checked their temperatures before sending them to school. When students arrive, they have their student IDs that are connected to a red coil that every kid should have on their backpack. And we will be scanning their ID to see that their parent has certified them for the day. If the parent has filled out the screener and certified them for the day, they're then going to be sent directly into the building. If we have a student who does not have that screener completed, then they're going to be sent to a separate table that we have set up where the nurse will then go through the screener either with the child or call the parent to go through the screener, and they will take their temperature before they can enter the building. But we really are going to be relying heavily on parents to be certifying their children so that we can get kids into the building in a timely fashion and get started with instruction as soon as possible. So we're hoping that parents are going to do that certification at home, take temperatures at home ahead of time, so that then we can focus on getting them into school. If they don't have that completed, then we will do it for those particular students. Okay. Next question. The question is about snacks, and it says, I know that having food or snacks opens up more chance of the virus spreading, while due to the mask having to be removed while eating. But 2 hours plus transport time can be pushing the window of opportunity for snacks a bit too far. Again, just curious to see what the dialogue has been within the district administration. So the decision for snacks is going to be at the building level, and it's really going to be based off of grade level. We are allowing students to bring snacks. There will be a time set aside for a mask break and a snack. It will be about a 10-minute period of time. So if they are doing snacks, then the students will be 6 feet or more apart while they eat, and it will be for less than 15 minutes. Really, when you look at considering close contacts, the question is, were they within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, and were they wearing masks? And so we will, for any classroom or group of students that are doing snacks, they would be 6 feet apart at all times, and it would be under that 15-minute time frame. We know that for little ones, it can be harder to go for that time period. With the older ones, some of those classes may not be doing snacks, and classroom teachers will be sharing that with parents, but there will be an opportunity for them to potentially have a snack while they're here during the day. Okay. And then the last question, I think I actually already answered. That one was specific to specials. So I think that is all the questions that were submitted to me.
Ms. Matthews, now that you have talked about kind of the badge and the tables being set up, and many of us have had experience with the mask testing and kind of the lines for that. Is there, so previously to 2020, the kids would, they might be dropped off at like 7:45. They would congregate in the playground areas and then line up to go into the classroom. Do you have, is there a change in when you want parents, for example, to be dropping off their kids? Are parents supposed to get off with, like we did for math testing, there were a lot of parents who were with their kids. Now there were some kids who were by themselves as well, but are you expecting, is there any change, I guess, to the drop-off procedures, drop-off time?
Yes. So I actually have a document that I have been putting together that I'm going to be sending out to our entire community. It'll probably go out on Wednesday, possibly Thursday, just as we are making some changes to that document. I also have a video that I have created explaining exactly how that's going to go, because I am anticipating that we're going to have more people dropping off and picking up than we do on a normal basis. And so for purposes of traffic flow, we've added an additional drop-off spot to our plan. We will have specific assignments for families as to exactly where to go to drop off. So in the past, it was always car riders and walkers on the Grove side and buses on the main side of the building. And in the main circle drive, that's still going to be reserved for buses only, but we actually are going to be adding a lane on Cook Street. There is along Cook Street, there are parking spots. We're actually no longer going to be allowing parking there, and we're going to add a lane in that particular area for drop off. So families will be designated based off of, so on A and B days, we'll give, okay, last names from, this letter to this letter are going to drop off on the Grove side, and last names from this letter to this letter are going to be dropping off on Cook Street. And then it'll be the same pickup location as the drop-off location. That way we can keep siblings getting picked up and dropped off at the same spot, and keep the plan for families as exactly where they go every time if they're picking up or dropping off. Students will, as they're exiting the car, we're going to be scanning their badges. So before parents pull away, we'll be scanning badges to make sure that students are certified. If they're not, we'll ask the parent to certify right there. Or if they don't pass the certification, then parents will take them home. With the buses, as students are getting off the bus, we will be scanning them. And if they're not certified, then they will go to the tent with the nurse to get certified and have their temperature taken. Otherwise, they'll be sent into the building. I see that there's a question. Go ahead, Mary.
So regarding fifth graders, if they are dropped off on the Grove side, then do they just go around the building to get to the mobiles, or how would you handle classroom?
They'll be able to go through the building, but we will have, so students are not going to be able to enter the school until 8:50, or I'm sorry, 7:50. Normally they would enter at 7:55, right? Normally they could get dropped off at 7:40, play on the playground, they line up at 7:55, they enter the building. Well, now we're not going to be able to have children playing on the playground and the recess time that we would normally have in the morning. So we are going to allow students to enter the building starting at 7:50. If they get dropped, let's say they're a fifth grader and they get dropped off on the Grove side, we're going to have spots marked for social distancing where students can start to get dropped off at 7:45. They would stand on the marked spots so that they are distanced. And then at 7:50, they can enter the building. Fifth graders would just walk through and then go directly to the mobile. We're not going to send them around the school just because for supervision purposes, we're going to have all hands on deck with scanning the IDs and making sure that everybody is certified before going in. And so I just want to make sure that we don't have anybody walking around the building that we can't supervise. So they would just go through and then go directly to the mobile. Okay. And then in the pickup in the afternoon, we will have a specific process for that as well, where we will call students by bus. We will call small groups of kids to come out. And then again, we're going to have markings outside where they can stand for social distancing. And then when their parent pulls up, we would call them and they would get into the vehicle, or they would go directly to their bus. Okay.
Ms. Matthews, I know one of the things that came up in the board meeting, I think this last time, was that there were some teachers reporting that they were having to buy like their own sanitizers or tissues or whatever. And I know that's one of the metrics that we're using for, getting into hybrid. Should parents be contacting the teachers and saying like, hey, do you need anything? Is that something that we need help with, for Grove and in any of the Grove classrooms specifically?
So teachers really should not have to be purchasing their own supplies. Every staff member, let me show you. So every staff member has been given hand sanitizer, looks like this, or even in some instances, they're the bigger bottles of sanitizer. There are sanitizing stations that are set up. When you came for map testing, you would have seen 2 at the main doors at the front entrance. There's one of those that's in the mobiles. In addition, in the mobiles, there have been hand sanitizer stations that have been added to the wall. And we also have a mobile hand washing station that is in the mobiles. On the Grove Avenue side, there's also a sanitation station for students entering and exiting the building. Then all the teachers have sanitizer like this in their classrooms. They've also been given wipes. And then on top of that, they are going to be getting spray bottles with these hand mops to also wipe down tables. There's something called a True Shot that many of our specialists have been given. So if they don't have wipes, then they've been given the True Shot. So really, they should have all the supplies that they need. Every staff member has received 2 masks as well as a face shield, and every student, when they come in for hybrid, they're going to be distributed 2 masks. One of them is going to be a gray mask with the district logo, and one of them is just going to be a plain white mask. Students can wear any mask that's comfortable to them. So if they have one that they, already have that they're utilizing, that they like, they can use that one, but we are providing those 2 masks for them if they want to utilize those. We also have a face shield for every student. Now, face shields will be used sparingly, but there may be some instances, especially for things like phonics instruction or word study, where we want to utilize those, but those are also available. We do have plenty of gloves, and every teacher is being given a stash of gloves, as well as some extra disposable masks in case something happens to a student's mask and they don't have a spare one. So really, there should be plenty of hand sanitizer and PPE and supplies that the teachers need readily available to them. And if they don't have it, then they need to, talk to me directly, and we'll make sure that they have what they need.
Ms. Matthews, face masks, it's been a while since we talked about the face masks in the school board meetings. I know when they were purchasing them, they had talked about having like a spot for the student to write their name. Did that end up happening? Because so I can see a lot of those same masks, being in the area, and like the kids not knowing, which was my mask.
Yeah. So the gray masks with the district logo, on the district logo, it's on the left cheek, and there's a little spot at the bottom. There, Mr. Walcott is holding his up. Hang on,
Thanks, Mr. Walcott.
Let me spotlight him. Okay, there. So just keep it up there. So you'll see there's the district logo, and then there's that little box at the bottom, and students' names can be written in right there, so we know exactly whose mask it is. Okay, they're not going to be to be honest with you, they're not going to be taking those off very often. So they would take them off for their mask break, but they would keep their mask close to them, or they would potentially, take it off to get a quick drink of water, or just pull down their mask, take a drink, put it back up. So, I do think that we should be able to keep track of masks and that they're not going to get mixed up, but we do still want them to have their names on them, especially if they bring it as an extra one or something like that, that we know whose it is and we can identify, whose mask is whose.
I would like to share, I subbed at Little Broncos recently, and I would like to share a little tip from them that they use.
Sure.
If you ever had like a pacifier clip for those moms who, when you didn't want your kids to lose their pacifier, you don't want the pacifier to fall on the ground. They're using the pacifier clips for the real young ones, so that, if for some reason they do, if they do end up doing a snack or something, then the mask is still attached to the kid, and they just clip it on like the shoulder. So I thought that was neat. I hadn't seen that before. That's a neat use too for those pacifier clips that maybe some of us, I think we still have a pair somewhere stashed away.
Yeah. Yes. Any other questions for me regarding the hybrid? Okay, so just a couple of other really quick updates from me. I already talked about Halloween. The bus routes for the hybrid model are going to be available for parents to view tomorrow, October 14th, in the Traversa Ride 360 app. I am anticipating that those will reflect very closely to our typical routes that we would have. While map testing was going on, we were using a hub model or a hub system where there were just a couple of spots where students were getting picked up on each route. But I am anticipating for the hybrid that our routes will look much more like our traditional routes. They may be adjusting some of the routes because we will have fewer students on the buses. And so in that case, they may have to condense some of the routes, but they will be like our more traditional routes that we would run with our traditional stops. And, you know, with our new drop-off and arrival procedures, I'm just going to ask everybody to be, you know, patient as we get started. I think that, you know, it might be a little slow to begin with as students are getting used to the routine and we're scanning badges, but once we get into it, I think that it will pick up. So please just be patient with us and follow closely the guidelines that we're giving so we can maintain safety in terms of traffic and traffic flow and drop off for kids. And then also making sure that, you know, we are, you know, knowing that kids entering the building have all conducted that screener and are good to go. The schedule this week, tomorrow is a Staff Institute Day where we will be you know, finalizing plans and transitioning for the hybrid that starts on Monday. Conferences are going to be from 4 to 8. Then we have conferences on Thursday from 12 to 7. And then Friday is no school day also. And then we're going to be launching the hybrid come Monday. I think that is all for me. Just the last update is in regards to the referendum construction work. And Patty talked about this a little bit in her president's report. We have some very exciting progress that's going on. I have been meeting with a district committee in conjunction with the architect, the DLR firm that our district has been working with, and coming up with initial plans and talking about needs for our building and looking at different options. We have also put together a committee of staff from Grove that are going to be meeting with the architects and the district committee later this month. And then in early November, there will be a group of people who will present to some community members and parents from Grove about the plans. Really right now, things that are in the works is the change of our main front entrance. So we have a secured front entrance where when you enter the building, you can't enter directly into the hallway, that it would be into the main office. We're also working on updates for the STEM space. There's going to be a sensory space that is added, and that may be repurposing of space. And then also at least 4 classrooms are going to be added. Those will be new construction that are added onto the building. I know at the board meeting on Tuesday night, there was a question as to whether or not we needed more than 4 spaces. And so I think they were going back to look at that, but I know that at minimum, we've already been talking about 4 classrooms, and that has been a part of those plans. And the addition of the 4 classrooms will then enable us to remove the mobiles that we currently have sitting outside of Grove. So some very exciting things that are in the works. In addition to that, there are other safety measures that are being added. I anticipate that our HVAC system will be worked on, as that is all a part of the referendum plans from the initial you know, plans for Grove and all of the schools in terms of safety and HVAC. I see there's a couple of questions. Kelly, did you want to go ahead and unmute, ask your question?
Sure, thanks. My question is, with the health metrics kind of trending in not a great direction, and we're kind of close to not making the new hybrid metrics, which already got adjusted hybrid mode, let's say the metrics continue to trend in not a great direction. What is kind of the timeline around when we might see a change back to distance learning?
Mhm. So to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. I think that, that's something that the district is going to be monitoring very closely. As of right now, I did look last night. As of right now, we're still within the guidelines to start with our hybrid plan on the 19th. But I know that it would be a district level decision if we needed to return to full remote, and that would be shared with the community from the district level. There may also be some considerations in looking at specific buildings when we do return to hybrid. They have added a dashboard, so to speak, and there's going to be a dashboard for each individual school as well that identifies and keeps track of positive cases or also quarantine, people in quarantine, whether that's students or staff members. That's only going to count students that are coming in person for hybrid. If they're staying in remote, then they won't be counted into the numbers. So I think that, there's also potential that they would be looking at that on a school by school basis based off of the individual dashboards of the school. I do think that it could go to the district level where they could say, okay, we have to do this, as an entire district, but they'll also be monitoring it school by school in order to not necessarily have to shut down every school if one school, is seeing a spike.
Thank you.
I can't answer your question exactly.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just had heard other parents had asked Dr. Harris, and he punted it to the principals. So I thought I would ask you.
Yeah. But as of right now, we, in looking at the metrics last night, we are still on track to, move into the hybrid mode on the 19th, and then we will be monitoring it for our school dashboard as what it looks like for our school. And that's added to our website that you can look at that. It'll be updated daily.
I think Susie's got a question as well.
Yeah, Susie, go ahead.
Hi, sorry, still don't get the video thing. I was just going back to the building improvements when they're adding the classrooms as an addition, more as a concerned community member as I live down the block versus my kids won't still be there.
Mm-hmm.
God hoping, they are in fifth grade. They won't be there. Where is the addition going to be? Is it going to be in a similar location to where the mobiles are? Or do you know yet? Are they going to combine the playground on the mobile side and build it on the K ground side? I'm just curious.
They're looking at options for that right now. So I can't say, for sure. I think there's a couple of different options for that. And then we have to weigh out, which one is going to be the best option. I do know that one of their goals is, for it not to look like a complete eyesore and, to try and have materials and colors and whatnot that would really blend in well with the existing structure of the building and, continue to look not just like an add-on, but something that is a part of the school.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Matthews, you said that there would be an opportunity for some community input on the plans as well. I'm assuming there'd be not only from Grove parents, but from community people who live in the area, maybe?
They will be sharing the plans in November. I don't know exactly what that will entail in terms of feedback, but I know that there will be a communication of here's what the plans look like, here's the reasoning behind the plans, here are the decisions, and that will come in early November.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Matthews? Ms. Matthews, I do know that there were a couple folks who never got that email about which group that they're in. I know you said that they can call the office because the information is not readily available in IC and won't be, as I understand it from Samantha, until next week when we're actually starting. And so that's not particularly helpful. But folks can call the office if they have not yet received their email about what group their students are in?
Yes, if there is anyone who opted for the hybrid plan and did not receive an email on Friday afternoon, it was late Friday afternoon, early evening around 4 o'clock, where each family should have received whether or not their child has been assigned to group A or group B. If you opted for the hybrid and did not receive that email, please contact the main office directly, and we can share the group that your child will be in, or we want to make sure that we have it, that it's been marked correctly, that your child is participating in hybrid versus remote.
And I also see a question back up from Susie. Susie?
Sure.
I'm so sorry, I was late and I'm not sure if I missed this, the hybrid question, but I'm curious, did they release the numbers or say what the numbers are of, and I guess not even district-wide, but at Grove, like what percentage of families or kids are going back hybrid versus staying remote?
So we
I
have,
mean, I guess I have an idea in my kid's classroom, but there are many other classrooms than one. So I'm just curious.
yes,
Thank
so
you.
about 72% of the Grove community is coming back in hybrid mode. And then when you divide that, by the two groups, you're looking at, right around 35% of students in the building at one time. So our classes during the hybrid will be anywhere from 5 students to 12 students in a classroom at a time, just depending on the grade level or depending on the specific class. Some classes have more families that chose to remain in remote than others, and so their numbers might be a little bit lower. But the classes are within 5 to 12 students.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
Okay.
Alejandra, do you have a question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, everybody. So I was actually one of those parents who didn't receive the assignment notice. We were wondering if it had to do with the fact that I filled out the survey in Spanish. The survey was sent to me in Spanish, full in Spanish. And I believe there's another Spanish-speaking family who received the survey in Spanish who also didn't get the assignment. So we were trying to figure it out if it was a delay in translation from the district, communicating with parents, with Spanish-speaking parents or families that were sent the survey initially fully in Spanish, because this family also didn't get it. So I know where I am. Patty actually helped me figure it out where to find the info in Infinite Camp. Thank you, Patty. But so I'm not worried at all, but I was just wondering if there was any connection with that, and if there's any Spanish-speaking parents out there who still don't know if their kid is going to be in A or B. But I don't think it's a big issue. It's just that it was a kind of like a coincidence, maybe a correlation there for people who were surveyed in Spanish versus people, surveyed in English. I don't know. I'm just leaving it out there.
Okay, thank you. I can definitely look into that, and we can also send something out to our families who receive the survey in Spanish and just see if they know their assignment and if they received the information. So
yeah, it is. There is a very roundabout way to find the information in Infinite Campus, which is that you have to go to your schedule and click on the days for next week, and on the individual days. So if you clicked on Monday and at the very top left-hand corner it said virtual, then you know you're in group B. But then if you click on Thursday and it clicks virtual there, then you know you're in group A. But like I said, it's a really roundabout way to see which group you're in. The easiest way is probably just to call the office and find out.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Okay.
If there are no more questions for Ms. Matthews, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Mr. Walcott and see if Mr. Walcott has any teacher updates.
Yes, actually, I do. I want to apologize in advance. Give me a nod, yes or no. Can you hear me? Okay, excellent. Thank you. However, I have had a number of pop-ups on my computer that says my internet connection is unstable, so I apologize in advance if I freeze up on you. However, a couple updates from the teaching staff. We look forward to meeting with parents in person or virtually to update the progress of your child during our conference time over the next couple of days. And also, thank you in advance to the PTO for your continued generosity in providing dinners for the teachers during the conferences. That is very much appreciated. I do have a couple of questions that some teachers have put out there. I can probably table those right now and ask them during some of the individual reporting, and so they might even get answered before I even ask them, but I will ask them if not during that time, if that's okay. All
Sure,
right.
that sounds great. And then if we, if there's any remaining at the end of the meeting, you can let us know.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. And that's it. Any questions for me
All right.
or the teachers? Okay.
Not seeing
Thank you.
anything. Okay. So moving on to our secretary, Kristen. I think we had a good conversation about the yearbook. And so Kristen, do you want to give folks an update on what we're doing with yearbook this year?
Yep, can we go ahead and need a motion to approve the September minutes as written.
All right, yes, of course. So Kristen sent those out last week along with a notice. This is one we need a motion for a PTO slate member. So if I could get a hand up on a motion to approve the minutes as written. I'm looking. Oh, Megan, I see Megan, and I see a second from Alejandra. So thank you both. Minutes approved as written. Sorry, all in favor? Can I just see that little, thank you very much. That looks good. Let's go ahead, minutes approved. Kristen, update on yearbook?
Yep, so Bree and Patty and I had an awesome conversation this week regarding yearbook, and we have some great ideas that we're going to be communicating via Facebook, and then hopefully, Ms. Matthews, it would be okay if I sent over kind of an ad for the Grizzly. So our goal is really to kind of break this out and call upon parents to send in pictures from your phones or whatever you're using to take pictures at home. And for October, and I'll be putting this out on Facebook tonight, due Halloween weekend, so 10/31, we're looking for beginning of the year photos. So that would include first day pictures, maybe meet the teacher, and then any other general beginning of the year. And we're really trying to double back and gather everything for September and then kind of close that out so that we can manage all of the photos coming in, and then we'll go forward. And so we're kind of just brainstorming ideas for our yearbook right now of ways to fill those pages since all of our after school events have been canceled for now.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for Facebook, be on the lookout for the Grizzly. So we'll do like a theme, kind of every month. Like this month, we're going to look for fall pictures, or, this month we're going to look for, kids on playing their musical instruments, or, something kind of along those lines, and we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. Of course, we are going to get some of those wonderful, sometimes the teachers really have done some really wonderful screenshots of their Zoom calls, like maybe with like the art piece, that all the kids did, and those are kind of the ways that we can get some of those group photos. But we're trying to figure out, we got to think a little differently this year about the way that we're going to do yearbooks. So
one thing I wanted to add really quickly, when parents do submit photos to, it's going to go to Bree, but it's going to go to our yearbook Gmail account, which will be on the Facebook post and as well as in the Grizzly. But you'll want to include 4 different pieces of information. One will be obviously your student name, your classroom teacher, a brief description, and then a grade level. But the Facebook post that I created, for this afternoon, gives all that information. So And then again, you'll just be looking for those monthly. Each month we'll have a call out to parents to say, hey, send in your photos of this and X, Y, and Z. And hopefully it'll be, I think it'll be a really awesome and special way of doing yearbook this year. And then we've also been brainstorming ways to make 5th grade a little bit different and unique, since obviously things look very different. So
Yeah.
I do want to.
If I could chime in for
Go
just
ahead.
1 second too. We are working on a way to have fall pictures with our students once we go into the hybrid mode, that we would potentially have picture day here at school on those hybrid days. So we're in conversation with the picture company right now. I'll be sending out updates and sharing that with PTO exec board once I have it. But that is something that's in the works, that we hopefully will have school photos for our yearbook this year. And then if we have families that are in full remote, we'll work with them and either having them sign up to come in for a picture or sending us a picture or something like that. And then in terms of clubs that we normally have, there's some obviously that we won't be able to do, but there are a few that are currently in the works for us to try and do virtually. So there will be some information coming out about that for families pretty soon as well. A couple of things that we're going to try for students after school in the virtual realm.
Oh, that's wonderful update. Thank you. Kristen, I think that's all for you, unless you have anything else. All right, Marina, moving over to you. So I do want to give a big shout out to Jesse and Courtney, who coordinated a bingo event for each classroom that was done by the teachers during the math testing. We had a lot of great feedback from teachers on that. A lot of shout outs on Twitter and a lot of just thank you notes on putting that together. It ran very smoothly. Each classroom had their own set of materials, each individually wrapped, bag. Many of you who sent your kids to math probably saw those come back. And it was a lot of fun for the students. So fantastic job. I really appreciate you guys pulling that together very quickly for our students and our staff. And then moving on, I think we really want to talk about conference dinner. So we do have conferences coming up this week, and Marina and Kyla, if you can give us an update on kind of what we're doing there.
So our Sign Up Genius is still open if you want to donate money. We ask parents to donate food, drinks, napkins, whatever. But this year, with the safety concerns, we decided to order everything out. So Wednesday is Subway. And all the teachers have picked what sandwich they want through the Google form that was sent out. And Thursday is pita. And all the teachers have picked there. We have about 40 teachers who have asked to have food. So our Sign Up Genius is still open. Every slot is about a $10 donation, and that pays for one meal. That's it. That's what we got so far. And we're going to be buying a bunch of drinks, a lot of chips, candy, stuff that teachers can easily grab throughout the day. So if they don't have the meals, that's fine, because there's still going to be lots of snacks that they can keep their energy up with.
And I do want to, again, thank everyone. We're also transitioning, in addition to everything else that's changed this year, we're changing from RevTrack to School Store on Infinite Campus. And a lot of you are helping to kind of navigate that transition. I did put a how-to together as well for anyone who needs that. But it's actually fairly straightforward. If you go to Infinite Campus and you click on School Store, the only thing we really have up is the conference dinners and a general donation. And it's fairly straightforward in kind of putting it together. It's also a little easier this time to see what you bought. So like, in years past, you might have said, well, did I buy a yearbook at the beginning of the year? Or did I do this? It's actually quite easy for you to see what the history of your purchases is now. So thanks to everyone for kind of working through that with us. We have received many donations so far. We are, as Marina said, we do have a few more slots in kind of each night. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, we would appreciate that. As we said, not only are we buying the meals and also trying to support the businesses that have supported us in the past, but also, you know, going to have snacks and drinks, and that way the teachers are comfortable, you know, during those long hours that they are here late Wednesday and on Thursday, you know, meeting with parents on Zoom or in person. Thanks, Marina. Then moving on to Georgia isn't here able to join us. She's got the little ones, and so she's got to devote some of her time there. I do want to give a quick update on book fair. So our virtual book fair is now open. It's running from October 12th through the 25th. It is also possible, there's, I know Sam just put out today that it is still possible for your kids to make a wish list. So maybe if, like, you know, grandma and grandpa, or, you know, relative wants to buy, you know, your child a gift, that your child is able to put together a wish list online, and they're able to buy, you know, through a link, and that way that money, you know, that a part of that money going to the purchase of that will come back to Grove. So there is a very specific link for our book fair. So please be on the lookout. I think it was included in the Grizzly last week. It's also included in our Facebook post. And then Sam is actually going to be doing, every day she's going to do like a different like thing on Facebook of like, oh, you know, do you know that you can find this book here, or like a little scavenger hunt. So kind of be on the lookout for that. And then lastly, I do want to point out that unfortunately our online rep informed us that we're not able to do teacher specific wish lists on the online. However, we're hoping Ms. Matthews can kind of help us and maybe get a Google form or something where parents are able to see what are the teacher's wish list before the link expires on the 25th. Maybe a Google form that's accessible like in the Grizzly or something like that, or the results are visible in the Grizzly, because I know that it's something that parents do like to, you know, build up their teachers' libraries. And teachers sometimes are looking for very specific. There's a way for us to coordinate that. Is a little more difficult with the online fair than it has been in years past, when we just had the books available for purchase, you know, in the gym. Megan, also for supplemental fundraising, Megan has also recently sent out the how to, and it's Prime Day. Amazon Prime Day has started next 48 hours. And I know I just made a purchase and I forgot to go to my smileamazon.com. So for all of you hitting that add to cart button, make sure you're on smileamazon.com and that your smile is going to Grove Avenue. I think it's called Grove. Now I need to look. Or anyway, Megan put in Facebook how to select the Grove as your purchaser. This is a regular donation that we get from Amazon. We get, I think they pay us out like monthly. So it's a really great way for you to continue to get what you need while helping the school to get, you know, some other stuff as well. So it's also if you do Amazon on your phone, it's really easy to set it up there. And then anytime you purchase stuff off your phone, you know, we end up getting a small part of that price. So please, you know, if you haven't set it up already, please take some time to do that. And I think that was it for Georgia's update. You know, we do have some, as I said, we do have some donations still coming in. We've got some membership fees that are still, you know, being paid online, and that's still available to you on Infinite Campus if you've not already done that, that do go towards the PTO. And, you know, our opportunities for fundraising are limited this year. So we are, you know, when we do have an opportunity to do something, you know, we really want to play it up. And so I do want to move over to Mary, we've got some opportunities in Mary's world about things that are coming up over the next couple months.
Yes, we were glad to find out that some of the restaurants and companies we worked with in the past are still having opportunities to do dine outs this year. So next week, we thought maybe the week of starting hybrid would be a good time to do this. We're going to do Subway on Thursday, the 22nd. It will be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. So it's all day long. You just have to mention Grove, or we will have a flyer we can send out or present the flyer, but really just even saying Grove will be sufficient. And then we'll get 20% back from the sales for our school. And then we're also looking for November to schedule with Moretti. So we're just kind of finalizing the times on that at this point.
And then I think we're also working on a Kendra Scott. For those of you, I think I even saw some of you with your Kendra Scott gear on in recent days.
Yes.
So we're doing a Kendra Scott event in December, like just in time for your holiday shopping. We'll send out more information as that date gets closer. All right. Packs of Plenty. Matt, name change there from Blessings in a Backpack to Packs of Plenty.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So yes, last week was the first monthly packing. And thank you to Michelle, I know was there, and Susie was there, and anybody else, I'm sorry, that I missed. You hear music. It's not like it was at Sunny Hill. We have rock music playing.
Do things, but we also can't take over you.
Yeah. Then you can't forget the songs. I've been singing Smooth by Santana for an entire week now. But we packed 2,700 bags. So those will be stored at the high school and then distributed over the weeks, over the month. And we have most of the spots filled for the packings for the months forward, but I'll work with Mary. We'll send out another reminder when it gets closer to the next packing.
Yeah, it's, really changed up. So fantastic way to give back to our community. And it's slightly different this year. Matt went through that last month. But yeah, I had gone to the sign up too and saw that a lot of the slots have been taken up. Yeah. So that's, really positive news. But as we need to send reminders, please do send those out.
Okay.
Then I think that brings us kind of to the end of our scheduled updates. Mr. Walker, I'm just going to loop back around to you and ask whether or not there was anything else.
Actually,
teachers. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I did have a couple of questions from teachers on room parents. And so will the teachers be notified of who the room parents are? I know I was able to see a document, but I don't know if teachers have access to that document.
Yeah, what I can do, I was actually, because we had a couple of late entries or entries after I had already sent out kind of the initial information. So I was actually going to go ahead and resend out the kind of the directory that has the whole list of every teacher and all the room parents assigned to their rooms or had volunteered for those rooms. I can go ahead and send that over to Vicki and Kristen to send that out to the staff as well. So that way, everyone can see who had signed up, for their classroom. I know that I've been receiving a lot of questions from room parents around, what are some good ideas around, things that we can do. Part of the reason that we moved kind of from the 1 hour to the 45-minute too was also because we weren't having food at the parties, and that was always kind of part of the planning. And hopefully that does make it a little bit easier for parents I know who are like struggling to figure out like what's a great virtual activity that we can do. I am also going to remind parents, hey, you really got to coordinate with the teacher to either co-host on that Zoom call. For those of maybe for some people who have never done that before, or at least work with the teacher if if the teacher still wants to be involved in controlling the kind of the Zoom meeting. Again, it's a really close collaboration that we're looking for from room parents with the teachers, to have a successful block of time where the kids are doing something a little different. But I'll go ahead and send that out to Kristen and Vicki and ask them to send that out to teachers.
Okay, thank you. And then also another question is, do room parents have access to parent emails? Do they get that through Infinite Campus, or a directory online? How does that work?
We just barely got the directory published. I know Phil Hintz head of student services in the district, and I think he's new this year too, has been working really hard to get the directories published. Directories are now finally published. If you go to Infinite Campus, it should be right there in your announcement page. And so that includes all the contact information that parents selected at the time that they registered, whether or not they wanted their contact information made public or what parts of their contact information they wanted to make public. But I did see that we finally got that online, and just happened in the last week. So room parents, if you're looking for addresses, email addresses of the other parents in your room, that's really the best way to get it. And that's what we've used in the past, is the online directory. Instead of calling Vicki and Kristen or the teacher and asking them to send you a list, whatever parents wanted to be published, that's what's on the online directory.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to chime in. We actually cannot be giving out parent contact information. There's a confidentiality piece there. So the best way is to go into Infinite Campus and see the directory, because families opted into that and have set, made their information available that way. And so I know that every year we do get, requests from room parents to get the emails of all the parents in the class. We can't necessarily pass those out, but parents can view, who has chosen to make theirs public in that directory NIC.
Great. Is there anything else, Mr. Walcott? All right. I did not see our Be Strong updates, unless anybody that is online has a Be Strong update. I know they've also changed. I try to put the Be Strong updates on our Facebook page when we get them. I don't see anyone else on. Any other questions or updates before I go ahead and close out the meeting? Oh, I did want to say that, as I said, we're recording the meeting. Our PTO now has a YouTube website. And so that's where we will be posting our meetings moving forward. It's an easier way to see the videos. And so please be on the lookout in Facebook when we get the recording and are able to put it up on our YouTube website. That's probably going to be the easiest. And hopefully then we'll start to build a history of meetings as well, so that you're able to look at past meetings as well. But any other questions or updates before we adjourn? Okay, so can I get a motion? Was there something?
I just wanted to add one thing. There was a question in the chat, and I will send something out to all parents about this. That I did respond in the chat too, but there was a question about the COVID screener for parents who are coming in for in-person conferences this week. And I will send out a link to the screener for parents to complete, because any visitors coming into the building do have to complete that screener and self-certify that they don't have any symptoms of COVID, that they don't have a fever and whatnot. So just like when parents came for Meet the Teacher, they had to fill out a screener for themselves and their child, any adult coming for parent conferences also has to fill out that screener and before they can be admitted into the building. So I will send a link to that to our entire Grove community this evening via Campus Messenger. That way you have it and can complete it ahead of time if you are coming in for an in-person conference.
Okay, and then a couple of things from the chat. So I know that we're looking for the sign up for the PAXI planning. If we could get that on Instagram as well as Facebook, and Kristen, if you can help Matt out with getting that on our Grove PTO Instagram page, that would be helpful to get the link out for those of you who have a preference for one or the other. We're getting it out to as many people as we can. Matt, you can send that over to Kristen and she can help put that on our Instagram page. And then I think that's it. That's really all that we need in all the remaining questions in the chat. So now, if there is nothing else, then can I get a motion from a slate member to adjourn the meeting? All right, Rupal, I see a first from Rupal. Can I get a second? From Meg. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. If you're traveling, stay safe. And we'll see you all at our next monthly meeting, which will be on November 10th, 9:15, back on Zoom again. See you all then.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.